everybody, and welcome back to our consideration of the planetary transits for the month of February. Remember that when we're looking through this, we're considering the collective consciousness influences of the transits, of the energy of the planets on our mind, on our emotions, on our inner consciousness. Because it's those energies that direct us to experience certain things or to act in certain ways. So I've been looking over February, and we're going to start with just a general overview of, based on when February started, what we can expect for this month. And then I've broken it down into just sections of days where we see important transits or important conjunctions coming together. And so our focus really is on the impact of planets in signs, and the impact of planets on each other, so by aspect or by conjunction. And as we go through this, always remember that those things that will be most impactful for you will be the things that you already know is either an issue that you're dealing with in your life, or in the past it's been something that's come up for you. Because that's the way astrology works. It triggers what we already know about ourselves inside. That's why when we do monthly reports and these sorts of things, you always have to refer to yourself. You can't just listen to what an astrologer says and say, of course that's going to happen to me. It may be that you don't have the karma for something to happen based on a transit. And if that's the case, the transit's not going to do anything for you. But if as we go through this work together, something jumps out at you and you say, all right, I've dealt with this before, this sounds like something that's possible based on the current trajectory of my life, well then listen to it, apply it, and see how it goes. Now, those of you who might be wondering why I'm wearing this shirt, don't worry, I'm not becoming a pseudo-Indian. This was a gift, and I thought it was really kind of neat. So I still am pretty much a t-shirt and jeans kind of a person, but for this video I thought we'd have some fun together. So, again, let's get started. Now, the month of February, there's a few things we have to be aware of. It's going to start with a conjunction, or I shouldn't say conjunction. It's an opposition of Jupiter and Moon, Jupiter and Mars. And there will be a close conjunction of Mars and the Moon. So this is important because these three planets are friends of each other. They support each other. Mars is our capacity to fight the good fight, to know what we need to do to survive and accomplish our goals, to take proper initiative. The Moon represents our consciousness, our limited sense of self, what you might call the ego, or even the soul nature that's made up of all of your quirks and idiosyncrasies and, just tendencies, who you think you are. And Jupiter is the planet of purpose and of meaning. And so when we get these three planets together, we can see that the month of February can be a really wonderful time for setting your intentions to change your life, to improve your life, because Mars is the engineer, Mars is the fixer, Mars is the one who improves things. Mars is the one that says, you're in a difficult situation, here's the hard work you got to do to get out of it. When we get the Moon and Mars together, this can give a fieriness to the consciousness, but it can also inspire the consciousness to take action, because the Moon is there as the receptive energy that says, all right, I see the difficulties that Mars is pointing out, I see the changes that need to be made, the initiative that needs to be taken. So I'm going to start working towards that. I'm going to imagine a new way of being for myself. This is consistent with how the Moon functions. The Moon represents our imagination, and not just our fears and our phobia imaginations, but our capacity to see and visualize something better for ourselves. And again, the wonderful part of all this is the fact that February is beginning with this aspect from Jupiter to this combination. Jupiter allows you to have a sense of purpose in the process, so that you understand more deeply to your core why it's important to you. It's almost taps into your fundamental beliefs, your fundamental faith. And so having February start out with this Mars-Moon conjunction opposite Jupiter, this shows that February can be a very profound time for looking at the things that need to be improved in your life, the things that need to be remodeled, the things that need to be changed and addressed. and it gives you the adaptability to make the changes from the moon, as well as it gives you the sense of purpose and direction and a feeling of it's meaningful for you from Jupiter. And this is going to focus on the areas of self and others. All right, it's going to focus on the areas of who you are as an individual in relationship to others. All right. So with this stellium, what you want to be thinking about is, what do you need to do to change yourself, to change your own life path, to be more fully who you are? And by doing that, you then will have to look at your relationships and how your relationships might change, so that those relationships, which are really a projection of yourself, can be something more purposeful, more meaningful to you. This is the broader theme of this combination for February. Now, we also see that for the past month and a bit more, we've had the nodes of the moon, Rahu and Ketu, the north node and the south node, Saturn and Mars, in angular positions from each other. This is not an easy combination, especially if these planets are falling in angles within your own chart, within your own horoscope. But the good news is that as February starts, Mars has moved out of this angular position, the intense portion of the angular position, which means we have one less cruel planet, creating the sense of frustration, the sense of not being able to accomplish one's goals, the sense of no matter how hard you try, it's just not good enough, it just doesn't work. So that can start to shift as we get into February. We're still going to have some influence of the nodes of the moon, Rahu and Ketu and Saturn, again angular from each other, up through March, but as we get further into spring, that will also change and shift. But the reason I bring this up is because if you have been experiencing challenges to your faith, challenges to your long-term committed relationships, challenges to your health, challenges to your sense of freedom in the world, your sense of feeling at peace and tranquil with life and the flow of life. And this is all coming from the signs in which these planets were placed. Having Mars move out of this angular conjunction will start to show some of that intensity and that frustration letting up. As we get into spring and having Rahu and Ketu start to shift their position significantly, a lot of the confusion, a lot of the doubt, a lot of the fears and phobias also have the capacity to let up. Now, Saturn is still going to require that you work hard on what you believe, on who you think you are, on where you fit into your society. And that's not just your larger society, it's part of it, but it's also the microcosm of your smaller society, your friendships, your work, and so on. So Saturn's going to continue to challenge this. Saturn's going to continue to make you figure out what are the problems in your own culture, microcosmic and macrocosmic, and it's going to bring out those problems so that you have to look at them and address them and deal with them and kind of take responsibility for them. So that will continue. But good thing is, many of these planets that were more cruel and malefic and angular for at least the last month, it's starting to shift as we get into 2017. Now, at the beginning of February, and for a good bit of this early spring of this year, we're going to find Venus in such a position that his good fortune can be shared more readily and more easily. Because during this time period, Venus is kind of getting closer to its point of exaltation, moving away, and so on. It's dancing around its point of exaltation in the zodiac. And when that happens, that increases the planets, what you call kashta, or excuse me, not kashta. I always get those two mixed up because I usually say them together. It increases the planet's ishta. Ishta, with a benefic planet like Venus, allows Venus to give more of its grace, to give more of its capacity to find comfort, to give more of its capacity to regenerate. So for February, and even into early spring, we're going to find Venus is going to continue to inspire us to make choices that regenerate our lives. It's going to continue to allow our bodies to regenerate themselves. It's going to continue to allow us to make good decisions that will lead to higher fulfillment, right? So keep that in mind. And if you want to learn more about this transit of Venus, because I don't want to spend too much time on it since we have a lot of things to discuss, you can go to AshevilleVedicAstrology.com. So my website, AshevilleVedicAstrology.com, and there's a recent blog post I put. I posted it back in November mainly, but it's specific to the transits of the retrograde transits of Venus in 2017, which occurs. It's going to be occurring here in just a little bit, and I go over what that means for each ascendant, right? How it can be beneficial to you. So I would go and check that out. AshevilleVedicAstrology.com. Just look at the page and you'll see Venus retrograde 2017 and read up on that, and you'll understand why it's important too. Alright, so these are some of the general themes that we're going to start seeing as we move through the month of February. Also, we're going to notice that Jupiter and the Sun are in trinal degrees from each other. So pretty much for the month of February, we're going to see that the Sun is being aspected by Jupiter to 55 points out of 60. 55 points out of 60 for almost the entire duration. Fluctuates a little bit here and there, but that's the average we're going to use. And what does this mean? Well, the Sun is our sense of self, our inspiration, our capacity to see what we want to achieve, what we can become, even if we're not there yet. And for the duration of this month, not only does the Sun have the aspect of Jupiter, but it also has the aspect of Saturn, and that's going to get stronger as it goes through the month. Right now, it's just a little above average. And again, when we kind of mix these two together, we have to think about what does it mean? Well, Jupiter is going to empower the Sun to say, I can see what is meaningful in my life. I can see what direction I want to go this year. I can see how I can better myself, how I can improve myself, how I can become more of what I'm meant to be here in this world. So Jupiter is going to support that with the Sun. But Saturn is going to be aspecting the Sun. And anytime Saturn aspects the Sun, Saturn's going to say, all right, that's great. You're listening to Jupiter, but here's all your problems that you have to get over before you can actually achieve that. So too often people look at this aspect of Saturn to the Sun and say, this is going to prevent you from achieving your goals. Well, it's only going to prevent you from achieving your goals if you're not listening to Saturn. If you're just hearing him say, you can't do it because of A, B, and C. But what most people miss is that what Saturn's actually saying is, you can't do it because of A, B, and C, so take care of A, B, and C. Right? And our human consciousness, most of the people I know, when Saturn tells them something, they don't actually hear that you're supposed to work on what Saturn's talking to you about. They just hear Saturn says no, and they don't ask, well, why? So with this combination for February of Saturn aspecting the Sun and Jupiter aspecting the Sun, there's going to be that empowerment from Jupiter to have a sense of purpose, to see the bigger picture. What do you want to do? What do you want to become? What's down the road that would be so meaningful for you to manifest as a unique expression of this holistic consciousness? That's important to pay attention to for February. But then Saturn comes in and says, yeah, that's great, but this. But here's where you're going to fail. But here's where your weakness is. So you need to learn to listen to Saturn, not as a no, but as a, that is the area of life you need to function, or focus on. Yeah, that's the word. That's the area of life you need to focus on. So for February, definitely be considering, what do you want to be working towards for 2017 and beyond? What are your inspirations? What are your aspirations? What is the deepest part of yourself that really wants to shine in this world? Not out of ego needs, but just because it's who you are as a natural expression of this holistic consciousness. And then ask yourself, what is the negative talk in my head that's saying I can't do it? And then ask yourself, what can I do? What steps can I take daily to overcome each of those negative self-talk things, that might be going on? So that's how you can work with this Sun-Saturn aspect and this Sun-Jupiter aspect that's happening at the same time. All right, now let's get into my individual notes. So February 3rd through February 5th, you might want to get a pen and paper out. So do this now. I appreciate you watching this video multiple times to get this. I know some of you have told me you do that. But pause the video, go grab a pen or a pencil or get your laptop out and write these things down if they seem important to you. Print them out or stick them somewhere where you can look at it for the rest of the month. Or if you want to keep hearing me talk, then just replay the video. But February 3rd through February 5th, we're going to find that the position of the moon to Jupiter and the position of the moon by sign is going to be extremely helpful for the imagination process that we've just been talking about. What do you want to become? What can you see as a better state for yourself in any area of life? February 3rd through February 5th, you want to focus on imagining that. What would it feel like? Coming up with affirmations that you can repeat throughout the month. And remember, with affirmations, the key is to have a feeling response. A feeling response. So you don't want to just write it out. You want to feel what it would feel like if that were true for you. February 3rd through February 5th can be a really wonderful time to engage in this process. Now, what happens after that? Right in line with the theme of the month. February 5th through February 7th, February 5th through February 7th, we're going to have Saturn and Moon angular to each other, which that's going to be the time where now you need to ask yourself, what's going to get in my way of accomplishing this? And it might just be that things come up in your life that kind of point that out to you. So you need to pay attention to what comes up in your life that kind of says, no, you can't do that. Or someone says to you, no, you can't do that. Well, in your mind, ask yourself, why can't I do that? And then ask yourself, how can I work through that? All right, this is what's going to be important for the Moon and Saturn opposition, which will be occurring February 5th through February 7th. And we'll also see that this will be occurring angularly to the nodes of the Moon, to Rahu and Ketu, which means that since it's Ketu, some of it might be coming from past life issues, previous life issues, or your ancestry, particularly related to one's parents, the way Rahu is positioned from the Moon, 4th from the Moon, and so on, and Ketu being 10th from the Moon. It'll deal more with, you could say, the past life ancestry of your father. That's because of Ketu. So what things from their past life could be interfering with your movement forward, their beliefs, their thoughts, their genetic, energetic imprints, and so on. So you might need to reflect upon that. Like, what experiences did they have that they passed on to you that you have to work through? With Rahu, it can relate to the failures that your mother's side of the family has had, meaning the things they've wanted to do or accomplish and they've not had any success with. So you need to look back at that and say, all right, how can I learn from their mistakes, again, from the mother's side of the family, to accomplish these goals? Now, February 7th, we're going to find the Moon, February 7th through about February 9th, the Moon in an angle from Jupiter, where it's going to be receiving about 45 out of 60 points of aspect from Jupiter. That's pretty good. That's what? 75%? Well, you get it. Just do the math. 45 divided by 60. You'll get the percentage there. And when we get the Moon in an angle from Jupiter, and let me just double check that here. So we're looking at February 7th. Yeah, there we are. February 7th, the Moon is also going to be an angle from Mars and an angle from Mercury. Or not Mercury, an angle from Venus. This is a wonderful time to stay home. This is a wonderful time for you to spend time with family and friends. This is a wonderful time for you to take a little retreat from your life. to enjoy the people around you. And this is going to be when the moon is moving almost completely towards full, so it's just before the full moon. Since this is happening around the 6th sign from the sun, during this time period, February 7th through February 9th, this is also going to be a great time period to improve your home, to make your home more comfortable. And so spending time with your family, if you enjoy your family, if you enjoy your friends, the family that you consider to be your family, it doesn't have to be your biological family. Spending time with them will help you emotionally. It'll help you feel supported. It'll help you see that you're part of a community that can be very helpful to you. And on the other side of that, since it's in the 6th from the sun, doing things that make your home more supportive, more comfortable, bringing more of a sense of sacredness to the home, more of a sense of healing to the home. This can be done between February 7th and February 9th. Now, February 9th through February 11th, here we get the full moon. And at that same time, we will have the moon and sun will be in angles from each other. However, again, we're going to find that both the moon and the sun are getting significant aspects from Saturn. Let's just double check this. Yes, the moon, that's right. So at the same time during this full moon, both the moon and the sun are getting nearly full aspects from Saturn. Sun's getting aspected to 51 points out of 60. Moon is getting aspected to 42 points out of 60. But at this moment, at this time, we're getting the sun aspected by Jupiter for a full measure, as strong as an aspect as you can get from Jupiter to the sun. So what happens when this occurs? Well, first and foremost, we need to be aware of the idea that there are going to be more opportunities in your life for your personal self-expression. There's going to be more opportunities in your life to see where you need to grow psychologically. You're probably going to become aware of the bigger problems in your life that you have to attend to, that you have to look at dead on, straight in the face, and say, I get it. You are preventing me from achieving my goals. You're preventing me from living my highest and my best. You're preventing me from manifesting my unique expression of this individual consciousness. But Jupiter is there to provide you the opportunities to overcome these things, to look it straight in the face and say, I understand this is what's going on with my relationships. I understand this is what's going on with my health. I understand this is what's going on with my sense of purpose in life, and my career, my finances, whatever it might be. And Jupiter's going to come along and it's going to show you opportunities of how to deal with that well. Is it going to be easy? Not necessarily. I mean, it could be, depending on how your chart is situated. Because we are still getting an aspect from Saturn, so it's still going to be some constriction there, some sense of, gee, I wish I didn't have to do this. But with that Jupiter, with that strong aspect on the sun, that's what empowers you to make the appropriate sacrifices. Remember, the sun deals with sacrifices, so that you can live a more meaningful, purposeful life from that point forward. So this full moon is going to be really important in that regard. I would really pay a lot of attention to it. And the times to be engaging these things will be between February 9th through February 11th, primarily. And of course, what happens next, as with all things in life, there are these ups and these downs. Well, next up, we're going to have the moon moving into position with Rahu, again, angular from Saturn, and this is from February 12th through February 14th. So not necessarily, let's get there, not necessarily the best prelude to Valentine's Day, if you celebrate Valentine's Day. February 9th or February 11th, you see the things you have to do. You have to see the things you have to face down. And then you see the opportunities and the joyous sacrifices you have to make to accomplish that. And as with all things, right after that, we get the moon moving in with Rahu, the moon moving in with Saturn. And what happens typically when we want to make a change and do something different, and we commit to it? Well, it's right after that that all the little ghosts come out and say, yeah, but you're not going to do it because of this. What are you thinking? It's like when someone decides to become a vegetarian. Then all of a sudden, all their family members throw a fit, and it makes it harder for them. Or a person decides they want to move away or do something radically different for their life. They're inspired, they see the problems, they're going to move forward, and they're going to do it. And then a few days later, all this stuff comes crashing down where people are saying, are you crazy? What are you thinking? Have you made your plan? So you do have to be prepared for February 12th through February 14th for the pushback. But it's not bad, because again, as long as you stay focused with the consistency of the sun, remember the sun is consistent and steadfast, you move through it. People adjust. People respect it. But it is going to bring up some of your own quirks and idiosyncrasies and fears and other people's as well, because they're going to be uncomfortable possibly with the changes that you want to put into play from this point forward. All right. Now February 14th through February 16th, we get the moon and Jupiter coming together by conjunction. These are some of my favorite times. Maybe it will be good for Valentine's Day after all. It's going to be in opposition to Venus and Mars. All right, so that's also good for Valentine's Day. So this can be wonderful for living your passions with the people around you, for enjoying the time with the people around you, for being passionate with the people around you. It's also a wonderful time for taking action towards new directions in a relationship due to the sign position of these planets. So if something's coming up for you relationship-wise and you want to make a change, take it to a new level, make it better, this opposition conjunction of Moon and Jupiter, opposite Venus and Mars, can be very good for making those changes and doing it in a very fun way. So February 14th through February 16th can be a very enjoyable time period for following your passions, having fun with your intimate loved ones, and even taking your relationships in different directions that can be very positive for you. That's February 14th through February 16th. And again, as with all things, what occurs a little bit later on, February 19th through February 21st, we get Saturn and Moon conjunct. Saturn and Moon conjunct. At the same time, we're going to have the Sun with K2 in an angle from Saturn and Rahu. And the Sun with Rahu and K2 continues through March. Let's just talk about one of these at a time, but the time period is February 19th through February 21st. Moon and Saturn. Oftentimes this is a period where you feel depressed, like you can't accomplish anything. It's a time period where you see more of the problems than you see the possibilities. So if you get down on yourself, if things don't necessarily go the way you want consistently during that time period, it's because of this Moon-Saturn conjunction. It can be a good time period to clean out your psychological doubts and difficulties. But what I would say is if you start to feel challenged in regards to your faith, if you start to feel challenged in regards to your belief systems, if you start to feel like there's really no purpose to participating in this world order or keeping the wheel turning, that's Saturn and Moon doing it for you between February 19th and February 21st. We're going to have the Sun in an angle from Saturn, the Sun coming in conjunction with K2 during this time period. And that can make a person tend to look back on things in the past and say the past was better. You know, if you're in a difficult place and you start thinking about high school, or you start thinking about your childhood or what's past, that's just part of this whole combination. And what you want to do during that time is honor where you've come from, honor your past, honor your joys and your successes, but ask yourself, how can you build upon them now? Because you don't want to be living in the past, which Sun being on an angle from Saturn, Sun being with K2, can kind of inspire a person to do. Then you don't take steps towards your goals. So be cautious of that. All right, so then continuing beyond that, a little bit of a lull. Then we get into the end of February, February 26th, thereabouts. we're going to find K2, Sun, and Moon coming together. This is a conjunction which relates to eclipses. A conjunction which relates to eclipses. And this is going to be a new moon time period. A new moon time period. And so what do we do when we have a new moon and we're in an eclipse time period? Well, you want to lay low, really. This is more of a time period, again, for brainstorming. This is a time period for reflecting upon where you've come and where you want to go. This is a time period for considering the new seeds that you want to plant in your life. And based on where this conjunction is positioned, it really deals more with spiritual things. What do you need to do to support yourself spiritually? What do you need to do to be more intensive about your spirituality? What do you need to do to take your spirituality more seriously? So this is the time to go within and to reignite that fire of your connection to your divine self, your connection to your holistic self, and spend more time on your inner work during this particular eclipse. What do you need to do to be really free within the world? That doesn't mean escaping your work, escaping your problems. It means what do you need to do to be able to do your work so that you are not identified with it, to be that karma yogi which does his or her work without attachment to the fruits of their actions. This is really what that eclipse is calling you to do. It's like when I decided to do my work as an astrologer, and I could fret day and night about, did I look at the chart long enough? Did I do it well enough? Do I know enough? These sorts of things. But when I decided to do my best, analyzing charts of people as clearly as I possibly could, and realizing that there's a greater force coming through me that will allow that session to share with the individual what they need at that moment. Based on the feedback I got after that, it seemed like I became a better astrologer. So the same thing can happen in your work, whatever you happen to be doing. When you let go of attachment to define yourself, to stressing yourself out over your work, and you can be more of a karma yogi, doing your best, but knowing there's a bigger plan going on here than you really know of in your limited human mind, you will do much better work. And this is also part of the spiritual practice of life that you have to engage in. This eclipse can help to reveal that to you and make it more active in your day-to-day experience. Okay. Now, one final comment I do want to make deals with Mercury at this time. And that's between February 27th through March 1st. So Mercury is going to be getting together with K2 during this time. And it's going to also bring an energy of looking back to the past, thinking about past things, focusing on the past. The mind is going to go backwards, because K2 deals with the past life and Mercury deals with the direction of the mind. So again, as you get towards the end of February, be thinking about those things that have no longer served you, that you need to let go of. And it's good to think about this from time to time. To honor where you've made mistakes, not to feel bad about it, but just to say, I've made this mistake. That's that. What do I need to do to move beyond it? What do I need to do to live in such a way that I can manage my life, which is Mercury, so that these mistakes don't continue to sabotage me? That's what you want to avoid with these Mercury K2 combinations, is don't let your life get sabotaged based on your past mistakes. You learn from those past mistakes and you move on. You redefine yourself. And during an eclipse period like we're going to be in, when the eclipses start towards the end of February, this is a reset time period, to press the reset button, to reinvent yourself, to reinvigorate yourself, to recreate who you are. So spend some time thinking about that as you get towards the end of February. All right, well, this will conclude our little contemplative exercise about the planetary transits and how February is probably going to function. I realized as I was thinking about doing this video that on my other channel, youtube.com/Kriya Yoga Online, that I have a monthly, sort of like a monthly lesson to put your attention towards for the month. So at the bottom of this video, under the description, just go ahead and look down there. I'll put a link to the practices for February that can be good for you spiritually speaking as you move through the year. And ideally, if I remember, I'll try to do that at the end of each of these monthly videos so that you'll have something to do to engage your attention in a more less passive, more positive fashion. All right, so thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be in touch soon.